CBS 2's Alice Gaynor is in East Flatbush.
We now know the name of the man police are searching for in the brutal shooting death of a father and son.
This is video of the murders has been circulating online. CBS 2's Alice Gaynor is in East Flatbush with an update.
47-year-old Vladimir Mathurin and his 27-year-old stepson, Chinwe Mood, were shot dead Sunday night, police say, by their downstairs neighbor, 47-year-old Jason Pass, who they had an ongoing noise dispute with. A video camera on the 4th floor of the Flatbush Gardens complex at 1418 Brooklyn Avenue shows Pass, who lives below on the 3rd floor, arguing with Mathurin's wife. Mathurin then comes out holding up what police say are scissors. His wife tries pulling him away as Pass then pulls out a gun. We're stopping the video here. The NYPD says Pass shoots Mathurin and Mood and calmly flees the scene. The NYPD says Pass had called 311 6 times since March 2022 on his upstairs neighbors over what sounded like banging on the floor.
Noise complaints, basically people walking. We come to find out the apartment upstairs didn't have carpeting. It was a wood floor, so a lot of noise, people walking back and forth generated these calls.
Building management says there were numerous complaints from both apartments and that mediation was offered but never done. On Monday, CBS 2 spoke with the victim's wife and mother, who says Pass banged on the ceiling, so her husband banged on the floor back.
My husband have no gun, no weapon. Why would you bring your gun to shoot my family? Why would you bring your gun to tear my family apart? Why?
Brooklyn Councilwoman Farrah Lewis spent some time with the grieving family.
They need a lot of support right now. Her husband was the breadwinner of the family. So to know that he was paying for her to go to school, paying for 2 children to go to parochial school, now they have nothing.
As police search for Pass, on Tuesday, anti-violence group Elite Learners, Inc. and others were outside the building to denounce gun violence.
We have to come out. We have to let the world know that this is not normal and that we have resources to support those that are in need.
It was completely uncalled for and senseless, and you took away, you destroyed a family.
In Flatbush, Brooklyn, Alice Gaynor, CBS 2 News.
Run over here to have the people.
Noise dispute, and now 3 people are dead. Police shot and killed a man wanted in connection to gunning down 2 of his neighbors.
It began 2 days ago. A man and his stepson shot dead in East Flatbush. Officers tracked down the suspect in Bath Beach today using a license plate reader, and they say they had no choice but to shoot when he charged at them with a knife. CBS 2's Christina Fan has the story.
Exclusive video captures the barrage of gunfire in this Bath Beach neighborhood as police confronted a double murder suspect. For 15 minutes, officers say they tried convincing 47-year-old Jason Pass to drop a 6-inch knife and surrender when they say he suddenly charged at cops.
He basically was saying what's happening today is not going to end well.
Pass had been on the run since allegedly killing 2 of his upstairs neighbors Sunday night in East Flatbush. Detectives say they immediately identified vehicles associated with the suspect. And Wednesday morning, around 7 a.m., officers scanning Bay 44th Street with a license plate reader got a hit on this black Honda CR-V.
As they exit their police car, he walked up to the car. The male jumped out of the car with a knife in his hand and took off running.
The NYPD says they surrounded Pass on Harway Avenue and were waiting for a hostage negotiation team when the suspect suddenly charged, forcing cops to fatally shoot him 3 times in the chest and once in the leg.
They're all dressed up and they have their guns out. And then all of a sudden, within 5 minutes, you heard multiple gunshots. Boop, 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 boop.
Police say the victim's family had an ongoing dispute with Pass over noise levels. Surveillance video shows him confronting 47-year-old Vladimir Mathurin when he shot the father and his 27-year-old stepson, Chinwe Mood. Police say Pass did not have a licensed firearm. They're still trying to figure out why he was in this neighborhood and if the murder weapon was inside his car. Reporting from Bath Beach, Brooklyn, Christina Fan, CBS 2 News.
Or week.
What's up, family? We're going to get this thing started right now. But before we begin, we'll take a brief interlude. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on do our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace. We are live, and I'm coming at you with 5. Welcome to another exciting edition of Random Topic Thursdays, the hottest live stream here in the cosmos on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're blessed and doing safe. I need you, first off, for all of my loyal listeners and fans that are here, because I know we got more than 7 people here, and I know we can get more. I'm talking about getting 100 people in here. I want y'all to hit that like, share, and subscribe button right now. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so when we go live, you'll know we are live. And also, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to, if you would like to contribute for our channel, you can drop a gift in the Cash App, the PayPal, or GooglePay. And it's not a requirement, but any donation is fine. As you know, YouTube doesn't monetize this channel, so anything that you give is appreciated. If you like me for my time, then I'm worth my time. Then pay me for my time. That's all I say. So let's go ahead and get this started. You can hear the clicks already in the background, ladies and gentlemen. He is the author of The Man Crisis and the John Haynes series, The Man with Nothing to Lose. An amazing writer, man who's written over 75 books. Ladies and gentlemen, let us show some love for Mr. Sean James. What's going on, Sean?
I'm good. How are you, Gavin?
I'm doing fine, my brother. I'm doing fine. Why don't you give us a plug-in right now, if you could?
All right. The SJS Direct 2023 books, John Haynes, 1987, and John Haynes, Godbreaker, are now available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com and other online booksellers.
That's good. Sean, I got a question for you. For a man that's written 75 books, I'm just curious. Had there ever been, or had you ever tried to, I know you probably have, sell your books to a big publisher? And just curious, did you ever get any feedback?
I tried submitting queries to publishers, but they say the books aren't right for them. So I don't even bother with them anymore. I just sell them directly to the public.
Okay, well, that's good. That's the best thing. You keep all the money. So don't have to split nothing with them. Yeah. And was it easy? And I know it hadn't been easy, but you just keep going for it and pushing it. So yeah, that's good. It's the best. Being an entrepreneur is a lot of work, but if you put your effort into it, work hard, it'll pay off, right? So
yeah,
keep on doing it. Yeah. I mean, especially, would you want like a John Haynes series? Do you think that's something you would be considered to be made into a movie?
It probably could have been made into a movie, but I doubt it with today's modern Hollywood. But it could be adapted. I could adapt it easily. I don't know if Hollywood or the entertainment industry would go for the kind of characters I write and the kind of stories I produce.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get this thing started, man. We're going to be talking about a lot and something in the area of your neck of the woods in New York. This happened in Flatbush. I don't know what the relationship to that is with Boogie Down Bronx, where you're from, Sean. What's the distance? Just curious from this incident that occurred. If you were watching the clip of the man who shot a father and stepson, and who himself was killed by police, which is
Well,
what
Brooklyn is a whole. There's a whole borough of Manhattan between Bronx and Brooklyn is a whole different culture than the Bronx, and the entire area is just—it's a completely different culture. Now, a guy named Ringo, he could tell you a little bit more about Brooklyn, and there's a couple of my viewers who live in Brooklyn who could tell you about Brooklyn, but Brooklyn is a completely different place than the Bronx, and has a whole completely different culture than
Yeah.
what the Bronx has.
Well, I figured it's a different neighborhood, neck of woods. I'm just wondering, like, how far is it from where you live? Just curious. The
So it's a good couple of miles away because we have Manhattan in between the Bronx and Brooklyn, and Manhattan is a good, I think, about 5 or 6 miles between Brooklyn and the Bronx. So it's a long way.
Yeah.
A whole different borough.
Yeah. I called this episode of our show "Gone in a New York Second" for a reason. And if you've ever heard that term, that means how things happen in a split second. And you saw this situation. If you watch the video, I don't want to play it. But if you go online, it's been on Twitter, it was circulating all on social media. And from what you heard, Jason Bush obviously had been in a dispute with this family that lived upstairs in his apartment complex. And if you listen to the police statements, their press conference, there have been several complaints between the parties over noise, right? So
yeah.
So what happened, and this is up, is that as they were arguing, obviously, if you watch the video, you saw parts of it play. I don't want to play all of it because YouTube, as you know, will give you a strike and say that you're promoting violence and all this other crap. You all can see it on Twitter. I mean, and they show it uncensored. Did you watch the video, Sean? Just curious.
I have seen the video, and it is disturbing.
You've seen it in its entirety.
I've seen the entire video.
Now, there's no audio in the video, and I can tell you as a lawyer, just several things. Audio, to an extent, would be important as a defense attorney, but you know, and this person, Jason Pass, who was killed by police and is accused of killing a 47-year-old Vladimir Mathurin and his 27-year-old stepson, Chinawi Mode. Obviously, he shoots both these men and then calmly gets in an elevator and goes downstairs. Things happen in a New York second. Now, if you watch the video, the father clearly, the stepfather escalated things when he came at the man and put scissors in his face. Now, I can make an argument, Sean, that in that aspect, as a defense attorney, and if Mr. Pass were my client, which he's not, but if he were, I could make an argument that he's being assaulted. Because while it's an argument and they're arguing back and forth, words are not enough. And he puts these scissors in this man's face. Now, you point it at him, you put in, that is an aggravated assault. Now, he pulls the gun out, as you can see, and the man retreats. Now, I had no problem with him pulling the gun out, because if someone pointed scissors at me and I'm a concealed carry holder, I'm going to pull my gun out. I'm going to defend myself. That's self-defense. You have a right to do that. The question, though, comes, and where the law would have probably looked at this, and this is just my thinking, is the man's back is turned. Now, why I said audio is important, because I don't know if the man is still making threats. Let's say, could he have said, go get my gun." I've had and seen incidents where that has happened and a person shoots because they feared for their life. Is that possible? Yes, but because I don't have that information, we don't know that. There's no audio. We can only go on what we see. There's not going to be a trial because the person who is said to have done this is deceased himself after he got in a shootout with police. Not a shootout, but he lunged at police officers, according to reports, with a knife. My thinking is, Sean, with that now, well, let me come back to that. So I initially had no problem with him, the initial part of him pulling out the gun. He pointed it, the man had scissors, and you could also make an argument because the wife is trying to pull him away. He's pushing her back with the scissors. Argument could also be made, it could be defense of others. Now, they think that's crazy, but there are situations like that. He's holding a pair of scissors. Where it goes south for me, as at this point, so his back is turned, you can see the gun has been discharged. He is not approaching this man. He's retreating, it looks like. Am I correct?
Yeah.
In that assumption? So he shoots him, then the son comes and charges at him, and he fires and shoots the son. And if you watch the video, after he shoots the son, he walks up to the apartment and opens fire again on the father after he has collapsed and lying in lying in front of his door in a pool of blood. He's dead.
Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Carlo live in Bath Beach with more. Anthony.
Wild scene. What happens today does not end well. That's what police say the murder suspect told them as they faced off. This right here, Jason Pass's vehicle that police first came upon him in, the interaction turning deadly right under neighbors' noses.
He was in front of them and they was telling him, get down, put your hands up. He was not listening.
Neighbors watched in disbelief as police say the suspect in a double murder got out of his black CRV in a face-off with cops armed with a knife.
The male jumped out of the car with a knife in his hand and took off running.
Police say Jason Pass had been on the run since Sunday after allegedly shooting two upstairs neighbors, killing a father and his stepson over a noise dispute in their East Flatbush building. Cops were looking for this car and found it using a license plate reader in Bath Beach.
This morning, we got a hit on that license plate. This technology is working on behalf of New Yorkers. This technology is protecting New Yorkers.
Some of whom were just waking up as cops found the murder suspect in his car right outside their homes on Bay 44th Street.
Our officers on a Wednesday morning at 7:10, doing their job, approaching a person wanted for a double homicide. They did everything they could to neutralize this person.
Police say the armed suspect got out of the car and led cops down the block, where they cornered him at Harway Avenue.
For approximately 15 minutes, they had a dialogue, doing everything they could to have the male drop the knife.
Instead, Chief of Patrol John Schell says Pass charged at the officers and they opened fire.
Boom, boom, boom. I'm living here my whole life. My whole life. Nothing, I mean, things happen, of course, but not right in front of your house.
Where a barrage of evidence markers.
Now, you look at that. Look at the evidence markers. You see the labels? That's got to be shell casings. So, and you see different numbers, but the highest I've seen so far was 22. So this means they fired.
The suspect shot 3 times in the chest and once in the leg, died at a local hospital.
They gave him plenty of chances.
But the question is, how many bullets were fired that missed? It could also be clothes or spots where the suspect laid, because it was more than one police officer, and he charged at him according to reports. So what that sounds like to me, excuse me, y'all, Sean, was that this was a suicide.
And police right now are obtaining a search warrant for this vehicle as they try to get their hands on that weapon, that gun that was used in the double murder. The vehicle being processed as evidence. Police say that Pass did not have a licensed firearm. He was fired from his job as a state corrections officer for menacing another coworker and has a robbery in his criminal past.
So, Sean, did this man seem like a man in crisis to you?
He definitely was a man in crisis. And I would say that he definitely was a man in crisis because what we have here is a textbook example of what I talk about in the man crisis regarding males not getting the ability to be raised to understand the most essential male life skill, and that is the abilities to think critically and the ability to conflict resolve. Now, this whole situation regarding noise is somewhat something here in New York everybody has to deal with. And I had a situation I had to deal with a noise like this from 2007 to 2011. And I was in a similar situation like this, but thankfully the Most High made it where this guy basically wound up eventually leaving. But this man made situation for me untenable with his boombox and made things untenable for the entire building with his boombox. And just this type of individual, they are just impossible to reason with because in some ways they're just a savage. So you try to sit there and reason with this person, you try to go to all avenues, and some people, they don't know how to resolve things with an individual like this, and they sit there and they simmer and boil for an extended period of time to the point where they wind up exploding in this rage. And what happened here was this guy basically was at wits, and he found that there was no solution he could find to work with anybody as related to this situation. And he possibly couldn't have a plan to do what any normal person would do, and that is just pack your stuff and move out, moving away from this toxic person. But because he didn't want to go out here and take that solution.
I said he got fired. He couldn't.
He got fired. He also had a job at the transit in 2008 to 2012, and he's had other jobs. So he could have left because this was a private apartment building. He could have left at any time. But like most beta males, what they do is their pride makes it where they don't want to leave. And they think that they can keep here going back and forth with this individual, not understanding you're wasting the most important intangible, and that is your time. And that time that you're wasting is giving you more and more stress. And that's where this guy's situation led to him seething and simmering and boiling in anger till he exploded in this rage, looking to sate his feelings, to deal with this impossible neighbor with the only possible solution he thought would solve the problem, and that is taking the firearm to, as I believe, possibly look to solve this problem once and for all. Now, this whole situation was one that was escalated on both sides because you had the neighbor upstairs who escalated the situation by not looking to defuse the situation by trying to apologize to the individual and trying to work with them. No, he escalated the situation like beta males do whenever they're challenged by another man, because usually they don't do this with women, they'll do it with another man. Whenever a man challenges them, what they want to do is go out here and pull out a weapon. And he pulled out this weapon while his children were out in this hallway. Instead of looking to protect his children, he was just so caught up in his macho and his bravado, trying to show out in front of this other man, that he couldn't see that he was putting everybody in his family in jeopardy. And as he was doing this, this is what led to this man getting triggered by the threat of the assault on him as related to this man pulling the scissors on him. And when he pulled the scissors on him, what this guy did was use that as the cue to go out here and pull out a firearm to, as he saw it, defend himself. And this is where everything just went to crazy because we had the son running in. I think he wanted to try to tackle this man to stop him, but he wound up getting shot and killed. And then we had the father, as the son was getting shot and killed, trying to run away after escalating the situation. And after he escalated the situation, he got shot in the back. And then the wife ran into the apartment, closed the door behind her, leaving him to be murdered by this man because it was the second shot that was murder, as I see it, at the father that turned it into a murder situation. But the whole situation just got out of control because we had three men who did not know how to conflict resolve or problem solve or critically think, and most importantly, didn't know how to critically think, because any critical thinking man would understand that getting into it with another man over noise is not worth your freedom. Any critical thinking man would have said, yeah, well, your life and your freedom. In the case of the guys on the fourth floor, it was their life. But in the case of Jason, it was his freedom. Jason Pass was about to lose his freedom, and when he felt like he had nothing to lose as related to his freedom, he'd rather die than go to prison, because as a former prison guard, he knew how bad it was in that prison. He knew that as a former guard, they were going to turn him out for commissary. So he knew what was coming for him, and that's why I believe he died suicide by cop. But this whole situation is one, like I talk about in The Man Crisis. I talk about how these men in crisis really, because of the dysfunctional way that they're raised, don't know how to go out here and problem solve, don't know how to conflict resolve, do not know how to swallow their pride and admit, okay, I will let go of something if it means more important things like my health, my safety, my freedom, and my life. He doesn't know how to make a sacrifice for the long term, because he's caught up in sating his feelings for the short term. And because all three of these men got caught up in their feelings in the short term, they are no longer with us. But it really shows us how bad the man crisis is in this country, because this entire incident is a textbook example of how, when boys are not raised to become healthy men, they create a situation where all of them lose their lives, and the families are the ones that are left behind without protectors and providers, because with these type of dysfunctional men, they leave a community in crisis due to their short-term dysfunctional violence, and the long-term the lack of a father who's not going to be a part of his family, and two men who are not going to be here anymore. And it's all because the way we raise boys to become men just raises dysfunctional men who wind up in crisis.
Yeah. And it's sad that young man, the kid, was killed, the 27-year-old. But he was trying, obviously, to save, I guess, or tackle this guy in retribution in defense of his stepfather.
Yeah.
Which was a fatal mistake on his part. But
you never charge a man who's got a loaded firearm. You go the other way.
Well, that's emotions kicking in. That was his emotional response to that. I don't think otherwise, if he had thought about it, he would have done it. But when he saw his father being shot in the back and killed, and then his mother's right there, he's thinking, I got to defend her, because he might try and take her out too. So, but yeah, de-escalation. Some things ain't worth it. For all of this, I would have just moved out of the apartment. But they let their emotions get the best of them.
Yeah. I mean, there were other resolutions. The guy could have bought some carpet and put it on the floor of his apartment, because he had hardwood floors. So he could have just bought some carpet, and that would have alleviated some things. But they were too caught up in their pride to admit that they needed some help, and they needed to go out here and try to work this out. But this is what beta males do. They don't know how to conflict resolve. And whenever they have a conflict, it escalates into a disaster where you get a great tragedy.
Yeah. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to move on. We're going to move on right now. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. Shout out to all in the chat: Danielle, Mr. Pirate Brain, One Who Cares, Tyree, and Beverly White. Shout out to y'all. Sean, something I want to talk about. The Trump brothers say in this civil fraud trial that's been going on. Of course, we have 2024 elections around the corner, and nothing says controversy like the name of Trump. So Eric Trump testified, as well as Donald Trump Jr. He was in the court, but Eric Trump was the one who testified today, and this is involving a civil fraud trial. So I want to play some stuff, some videos, courtesy of, I believe this is going to be CBS New York. And we're going to take a look at this. And I want y'all to look and pay attention to what's going on now. I don't believe they allowed the cameras in the courtroom during the trial, but they allowed it. I want y'all to look at this. So this obviously is before the trial started. And you see them taking pictures of Eric Trump. Now, if this was anybody else, if this wasn't Eric Trump, if this wasn't anybody associated with Donald Trump, do y'all think we would be hearing about this on the news?
I doubt it.
All right. That's that. But this is the actual.
Former President Donald Trump's two eldest sons took the stand today in the civil fraud trial against the former president, his company, and members of his family.
CBS 2's Alice Gaynor was in the courtroom. She's live now in Lower Manhattan. Alice.
Well, there were quite a few empty rows in the courtroom today. And though Eric Trump previously accompanied his father to the courthouse here on days he attended the trial, Mr. Trump was not in the courtroom today as his sons took the stand. Instead, he was in Texas. Eric Trump was asked numerous times about statements of financial condition. He replied, "I never had anything to do with the statement of financial condition. I don't believe I ever saw or worked on a statement of financial condition." Some of his March 2023 deposition was played similar to this previously released clip.
Because I don't think I've ever had any involvement in the statement of financial condition.
A 2013 email was displayed from Trump Organization controller Jeffrey McConney to Eric Trump that reads in part, quote, "I'm working on the notes to Mr. Trump's annual financial statement, and I'd like to include any major construction work that was started, completed, contemplated at our golf courses during the last year." Eric Trump replied to that email with a dollar amount. When pressed on the stand, he conceded it appeared McConney was asking for info to be used in the statement of financial condition. Earlier, his brother Donald Trump Jr. was on the stand for a second day and also told the court that when it came to any statement of financial condition, "I don't know anything about the document," though various documents referencing SOFCs were signed off on by him. The New York Attorney General's lawsuit accuses the former president, his company, and some top execs, including the Trump brothers, of inflating Trump's net worth on financial statements that went to banks and insurers to secure better loan terms and other deals. The judge already found the defendants liable for fraud. What's left to decide in this bench trial is other allegations that include falsification of records, conspiracy, and insurance fraud.
I'm apparently guilty of fraud for relying on my accounting.
Earlier in the trial, Donald Bender, an accountant with Mazars, testified Trump's company provided the numbers that went into the documents. Eric Trump will be back on the stand tomorrow. All the defendants in this case deny any wrongdoing. Live outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, Alice Gaynor, CBS 2 News.
Alice, thank you.
All right. I told y'all it's election season. So, Sean, what do you think of this?
Well, it seems like an election season witch hunt to me because a lot of New York realtors go out here and inflate the prices of their property. A lot of this property is overvalued here in New York, but they just seem to be going after Donald Trump because he's got political beliefs that the left don't like. And the whole reason for this whole campaign is just to go after Donald Trump and try to dismantle his organization for something that people here in New York have been doing for years on property, driving the values of property up with speculative deals, speculative real estate prices. I mean, if you're going to go after Trump, you may as well go after the entire real estate industry here in New York because most of this property is overvalued. Most of this property is overpriced. But this is just, again, a political witch hunt to keep Donald Trump from running for office. That's only going to make people want to run to him more because, like the bad boyfriend, what happens is the more you attack somebody, the more you make people get like them and more interested in them. And the left, what they want to do is make Donald Trump into this bad guy, not understanding that America likes rebels, America likes bad boys, that all you're doing is making the bad boy more popular with the average American person, like the American white woman.
Yeah, and it's just like uh, more people now. I won't. Well, maybe I'm making a big assumption, but I want to just say I can make this assumption. Do you find or think more people are gravitating now to the Republican Party, or rather, not to the Republican Party, but to Donald Trump, just because they don't like Joe Biden and the Democrats?
I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards Donald Trump as instead of Joe Biden because they're looking at Joe Biden's results, which is a country in chaos, an economy that is in dysfunction, and a nation's government that's detached and disconnected, and not talking about putting Americans first, but putting Ukrainians, Afghans, migrants. They all get first, but Americans are put last. And when they listen to Donald Trump, they see a guy who actually wants to put Americans first. Think about a country that was actually running better under Trump. And the whole thing is this witch hunt just makes him more sympathetic. So they're actually, in their attempts to attack him, are making him stronger. And all these campaigns do is make Donald Trump more appealing to people because they see him as they see themselves, who are being put in the background and being persecuted and being put in a second class place by ideologues who want to give the American dream to everybody but Americans. So this whole situation is one where Donald Trump is, while I don't really like the guy and I don't think he's qualified to be president, it makes him more appealing to people because at least he's in the same boat as they are. And the whole thing is everybody in the blue party is so condescending and obnoxious. They don't see how they're basically turning people off the same way a nerd turns off girls because he keeps talking about how much of a bad guy the other guy is, but never takes a look at himself and sees that he is acting worse than the other guy. And this continued persecution of Donald Trump only makes him more sympathetic and makes people more interested in voting for him because they can identify with the persecution he's going through and they see themselves in the same place as Donald Trump. So they keep attacking him, not understanding every attack makes him stronger. And their whole position is falling apart because they don't respect the American people. They talk down to the American people. They put the American people last. And that's going to make them want to put somebody first. And it may be Donald Trump again, but it's all because of the way he's being treated by this administration.
Yeah, well, he actually, something I want to point out too, Sean, if everybody can see here. RFK Jr., this is a poll that they have. So RFK Jr., who's a candidate, as a candidate, that's a big name, is running as an independent. And, he was running initially as a Democratic candidate, but, he was never going to get that nomination. And he's running as an independent. And a couple of things. They're talking about how he's actually got, and I don't know how valuable this poll is. This is Quinnipiac poll. So in a general election, they said in a hypothetical 2024 general election matchup between President Biden and former President Trump, 47% of registered voters support Biden, while 46% support Trump, which is a virtual dead heat. This is unchanged from Quinnipiac University's August and September national polls. Now, interesting enough, I mentioned RFK Jr. because they said and had him receiving 22% as an independent candidate in a three-way race. I don't believe they're going to have another Kennedy in the White House. They don't want that. And you see here, Biden, according to this, has a 39 to 58% negative approval rating. So that's pretty high for a president. And something interesting too. Now that RFK, I want to go back to RFK. Do you know initially he was not in favor of reparations, but now that he's an independent, do you know that he's come out in support for it?
Yeah. Trying to get that black vote.
Right. They say independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. supports issuing reparations to the black community, making him the most prominent 2024 candidate to favor the controversial policy meant to atone for slavery and legal segregation. President Biden has largely been silent on the issue, leading to frustration among the far left. I would disagree. He has not been silent. He's been adamant he's against it. He has stated when he ran for president, in 2020, when he was interviewed by Ed Gordon, if he supported reparations, and he specifically stated it depends on the amount and if it will include Native Americans, which tells me he's not in favor of reparations for Black Americans.
Nope.
I did not know that. So today, just happened to be on here, guys, November 2nd, 1983 is the day, according to this calendar in history, Ronald Reagan signed Dr. King's birthday into law as a national holiday. So that's some interesting news. Just thought I threw that out. But yeah, getting back to that, Biden has made it clear. So New York Post got it wrong on that. And part of Kennedy's campaign, he says, Kennedy, who ditched his Democratic primary challenge to Biden earlier this month, has spoken out in favor of issuing federal dollars to rebuild Black infrastructures like banks and businesses, and as well as direct redress payments or tax credits, rather than no strings cash giveaways. So y'all got to pay attention. He said he's not in favor of giving you cash payments. They're talking about direct redress payments or tax credits, basically to Black infrastructure.
Nope, that's not what we want.
That is not what we want. Native Americans don't get that. They still get paid from the government. You gave billions of dollars to foreigners in the Ukraine. They were even asking for more money before the shutdown. Before there was going to be a shutdown, they were asking for more money for Ukraine. And shout out to the Republicans, they opposed it. That's the only time I'm going to shout him out. But he's made it clear he's not in favor of cash payments. So you know what? He doesn't get my vote. All that means when you say you're going to give, you want to build the infrastructure, you're going to give it to some businesses and they ain't going to do a damn thing with it.
Yep.
That's what this means. And no, I don't want to hear about HBCUs because guess what? They get funding as well. You got to remember HBCUs too, that's run by states. Now they're private. Some HBCUs are private, like Xavier. That's run by the Catholic Church. They control that. It's a Catholic school. Other schools may be private, like I think Bethune-Cookman. But a school like Southern, for instance, that's run by the state. That's public. Reason why a lot of white people now are going to HBCU, Sean, is because they're cost affordable. That happened when I was at Southern. LSU wouldn't take a lot of these kids into their law school. So Southern University Law Center was much more affordable, and you got a quality education. That's the point of all of this. But Sean, you want to say any last thing with regards to that, RFK?
No, all I got to say is no tangibles, no vote, no black agenda, no vote. And black people, we got to realize that since Joe Biden doesn't want to do anything for black people, and he stated this in 2020, then he's the last person we should be considering. And if we can't get any tangibles from any of these candidates, then we need to not consider voting for any of them, because the whole point of voting is to make sure that you get paid on election day and not other people getting paid at your expense.
Most definitely, most indeed. All right, Sean, we're gonna move this thing a little bit further. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. This is a light night for us. And please drop something in the Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. Also, how many of you have gone to Amazon Kindle and ordered The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr.? You need to do that. Please do so. It's on Amazon Kindle. Sean has edited the book. He enjoyed it. And it is the truth, and nothing but the truth about what happened to our elder, Dr. Bill Cosby. Sean, you enjoyed the book?
Yes, it was exceptionally well done.
It was exceptionally well done. Let's go ahead and move on. I want to talk about this incident. Now, Sean, I know you don't follow sports, but I know you're familiar with who Coach Prime is. You have to be. Deion Sanders, who is coach of Colorado, NFL Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, I should say. And now the coach is 1 year in of his deal with Colorado. And they've had a rocky start. Well, they started off strong, but they've been in a slump now. They've lost at least their last 3 games, and 3 out of their last 4 games. And Sean, I wanted to talk about this. While they were playing at UCLA at the Rose Bowl, during which a game that they lost, Coach Prime and his team noted that their stuff was stolen out of their locker room. Now, I don't know if anybody has been up to the Rose Bowl in California. I haven't, but I do know some things about football. I do know some things about security, especially at these buildings. If you ever go to a game, depending on where you go, there is a lot of security around. And in particular, there are areas that the public are directed to go to. Like if you went to the Saints game and you were in the Superdome, they would not, if you didn't have the ticket for that section or so forth, sometimes they wouldn't even allow you in that area. Even if you have a ticket to be there, you couldn't be in that section. They direct you up, right? That's what they do. And certainly the locker room is the one place the public, unless they have some type of pass or so forth, but you cannot get back there. Press can be allowed there, and people that work for the teams and so forth, people that work for the stadium, sometimes they can get in there and clean up, but not just any old body. And these boys were robbed, according to Coach Prime. Now, they haven't detailed the exact amount of what was taken or anything like that, but Coach Prime wants the players reimbursed, and he called out the Rose Bowl and he called out the NCAA. Now, I want to add, there was some controversy with Coach Prime because I want to say 2 years ago, while he was at Jackson State, Coach Prime got robbed or had his jewelry taken there at his office and did a whole walkthrough and video blasting the person that did this. And I believe I won't say Jackson State, but necessarily, although he didn't say Jackson State by name, I think he was hinting at it because they were doing, it happened there, and he felt nobody was protecting his space, his stuff. So Coach Prime made an impassioned argument to the NCAA and to the Rose Bowl to reimburse his players, and I want to play that clip for you.
Last week, I think that's robbed during the game last week. I think that's a travesty, and I would expect the NCAA to do something about that. These are college kids. I'm pretty sure they don't think about insurance at this point in this juncture in their life. We've talked about NILs and how to really maintain their finances. We've pretty much given them financial planners and given them the resources for that. But the insurance part of it, we slipped, and we didn't really educate them on that. So I wish, I know the kids would be forthright in what was stolen, and some of our just staff members as well. And now all that stuff should be replaced. This is the Rose Bowl. They said the granddaddy of them all, right? I'm sure granddaddy has some money. Grandpa should have some money to get these kids. I'm going to have a list made out from these young men, and I know they're going to be truthful about what they lost, so we could try to get that back for them. They may not be able to get the items back, but we should be able to reimburse them. That was unbelievable. But I did hear that the home team was robbed as well. So I don't know, but I did hear that. But that don't make no sense when you're out there balling and playing your heart out, and you're getting robbed in the same aspect. So I hope we could do something about that NCAA. You do something about everything else. Do something about that. When it comes to kids, in regards to the kids, NCAA, you do something about everything else. Do something about this one.
Yeah. And that game, honestly, Shedeur Sanders, who is the quarterback, Deion Sanders' son. Again, I don't know if you follow. I know you don't follow football, but that was a national televised game, and it was an embarrassment in regards to the lack of protection that Shedeur had in that game. He was getting hit left and right, sacked everywhere. He didn't have a chance, and that was sad. Shiloh Sanders, who was the cornerback for Colorado, was ejected for what they called a targeting hit. Even when you looked at the video footage, he was leading with the shoulder. It looked like a straight tackle, but because he was flexing, and afterwards is when the referee threw the flag. So Chip Kelly even broke his silence on this. And sided with Coach Prime for a moment. And he stated that there was, and basically stated that that was a shame. According to this, he addressed the issue in his news conference after the game and said, "That's awful for anybody. You would think when you go anywhere that your valuables are safe, but I don't know anything more than I literally just found out 1 second ago before I walked out here." So the final score was 16-28 in favor of UCLA. And there was confirmation that a police report was filed to the Pasadena Police Department following the game. And UCLA is in communication with law enforcement, Rose Bowl Stadium officials, and the University of Colorado on the matter. That Rose Bowl is famous. They have had Super Bowls there. So I can imagine how tight security has to be there. The Rose Bowl is played there. That's one of the biggest college football games in the NCAA, as well as the Olympics, World Cup matches. So it's hard to believe that something like that happened. But, and I want to show everybody the hit. Hold on. And this is what they ejected him for, to the point that Richard Sherman called this out. Now watch.
I mean, this is, I don't know. What do you think of that one? He did come in with the crown of the helmet underneath the chin. You don't think he leads with the shoulder?
He's leading with the shoulder.
He might be leading with the shoulders, but he comes in pretty solid with some forcible contact.
And he caught the ball.
The chin.
And you
Ryan
see the
beat
flag
Derek
came out.
defenseless anyway. He hadn't turned around. He had the ball.
He has a,
The whole question would be: is that that's a shot that shows the excited about this hit, but in the new rule.
so it clearly, and it's hard for those defenders and those players too when they telling you not to hit this, not to hit that. The way you play football is you hit somebody and knock them. You're not trying to hurt them personally, but you're trying to make them remember you don't want to ever come near me and get this ball and get that ball, buddy. You don't want to throw it in my area because I'm either gonna pick it off or I'm gonna pick you off. But you're not there to hurt someone. You're not there to hit them with the crown of your helmet. We understand there's rules that have changed, but you are supposed to tackle a guy, and you can't. And even wrapping them up, because someone said, "Well, he could try and wrap them up." Sometimes that can even open yourself up to injury even further. And Richard Sherman even commented on that. And called it out. But Sean,
Yeah.
do you want to talk about this and what happened?
Well,
with
the whole thing with the Rose Bowl, I don't know. I think this is deliberate because you would think a venue where you're having a major event would have tight security, especially for the players' belongings. And it just seems quite suspect that when Coach Prime shows up, all of a sudden security just falls apart. I mean, I would have to believe that this was done deliberately as related to the security over there, as related to the players' belongings. And I really think that there's a attempt to try to really sabotage Coach Prime because there are some people who are jealous of his success. They're jealous of his NFL success, his Major League Baseball success, his success coaching in HBCU. And now that he's in the big leagues, you got people who want to try to bring him down and make him look bad. So I think that there are people out to target him and trying to embarrass him and trying to make his team look bad. So that's what I'm seeing here as related to what's going on here with Coach Prime. They don't like the idea of a coach that's competitive, and they want to push him out of the NCAA. And that's why they're pulling these little petty passive-aggressive things. They want to find a way to get him out of the NFL, not the NCAA, because they're jealous of all his success in the NFL, and they want to go out here and destroy his reputation, his professional image. So that's what I see happening here.
Yeah, and it certainly is. And then you got, and this is what I was talking about. Richard Sherman spoke, and he said that the referees are ruining the game with regards to this because you don't want to get, if you hit them low, trust me, you can end somebody's career. You don't ever want to hit, a wide receiver doesn't want to get hit in the legs.
No.
Nobody
Never be
wants
able to play again.
Ask Joe Theismann when he got hit and was wrapped up by Lawrence Taylor.
He was never the same after that leg break.
No, and in the NFL, they have rules against you going at people's legs. But Sherman said they have officially taken it too far, ruining the game. This is a former Stanford and NFL star, a Super Bowl champion, Richard Sherman, who said this. And what else I was going to say, Sean? You look here. Yeah, I think it's an inside job. They have people and put people like Jason Shitlock to go at Deion Sanders constantly, just saying something hateful. He says Deion Sanders players are miserable, predicts mutiny. You know, every time this man speaks, he is always speaking ugly on other black men. He's speaking ugly against people that do cardio, that like to stay in shape. This is Jason Shitlock. This is the stuff he says. And he knows what he's doing. I don't even want to give him the time of day. And bear in mind, Deion Sanders has just started coaching there. He has not been there for 5 or 6 years. They have a lot of white coaches who be getting jobs. And I mean, I'll give you the biggest example. Our head coach, Dennis Allen of the New Orleans Saints. This dude was in Oakland and had a losing record as a coach. Dennis Allen is not a proven coach. He may be a great defensive coordinator, but this is his record. Now it's got to be adjusted, but 11 and he overall in his entire head coaching career, he has coached 2 teams for a combined record of 22, 51, and 0. That means he's won 22 games, lost 51 of them. What is special about that?
Nothing.
But he can get a job. He can get a multi-million-dollar job. He was an interim defensive head coordinator, a defensive coordinator. And look, I give him his praise. He's a great defensive coordinator. That Saints defense is stout. Offensively, not so much. When he was in Oakland, he wasn't good. Oakland Raiders, 2012, 4-12. 2013, 4-12. Head coach of Oakland, 2014, 0-4. That means he got fired after the 4th game. But he can keep getting a job. That's the point of all of this. Black men get jobs and can't get a job. Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator for Washington, he was the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs and a fellow New Orleans native. He could not get hired because they thought, well, he had Patrick Mahomes. Look what Patrick Mahomes is doing now. He ain't been as good as he was a couple years ago. The Chiefs are still winning. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah, they have a winning record, but I mean, they've he's been throwing a lot of interceptions. He's been turning the ball over. They got shut out by the Broncos last week. And the Broncos had 70 points put up on them up against Miami. That's the point of all this. So, yeah, Jason Shitlock is a loser. It doesn't surprise me. They are hating on this man because he's black and he's successful. You know, by next year, if he can't get or change things around on the 3rd year, I'll agree. I'll say, yeah, this dude sucks as a coach. He's not that great, but not in his rookie year. You get one break when you're in your first year at least, because we're going to see how this works, right? And right now, and honestly, I will take this a step further, Sean. Some of those kids on that team, perhaps, maybe they're tanking it on purpose because he even called them out. That offensive line is just awful. They have people that do that. They got point shaving that goes on in college football, the NFL, the NBA, everywhere. I'm saying that. I said it could happen. I don't know for a fact. It could. It's alleged. I don't know for a fact that those guys are doing that, but can I think that? Yes. That's the point of what I'm saying. But Sean, do you have any other comments or anything else you want to talk about? Why don't you tell us what your live stream, because you do a live stream every Friday. Have you picked a topic?
I haven't picked the topic yet. I'm still thinking about what I want to talk about for Friday. It's just up in the air still.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap this thing up, ladies and gentlemen. This wasn't a long live stream. You see I got the Google Pay, PayPal, Zelle, and Venmo. If you love me for my time, then pay me for my time, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, the channel is not monetized. I do want to have a special announcement, ladies and gentlemen. I have just, I will be actually on the November 16th show. If you're in the New Orleans area, that means you, Danielle. I know you're from Homer, but you can come on out. Bring your man, bring your friends, ladies and gentlemen, because I will be at this year's Hell Yes Fest. I will be doing on November 16th. That's a Thursday. Y'all come on out. You can get your tickets on Eventbrite. I'm sorry, not on Eventbrite, on Linktree right there to the Hell Yes Fest. I'll be at Comedy House NOLA. Oh, yes. Don't ever change, Gavin. That is still the prettiest face in law and in comedy, huh? All right. Still handsome. So I'm one of the performers. So y'all are going to enjoy that. So I need y'all to come on out November 16th. That's that Thursday. Go to Linktree. I'm going to actually put the link in the chat so you can go. So you got no excuse. Say, oh, I didn't get the link. I didn't know. Yeah, you did. You just don't want to see my shit. Okay. And that makes you a loser if you don't. No, I'm just kidding. No, I know stuff happened, but if you can make it and you don't because you just don't want to, then you are a loser. But you guys can check out the link there. And Danielle, shout out to you, Beverly White, some chick named Star, who said he was just on. Oh, she was talking about Reagan, RFK Jr. Yeah, you know I don't listen to the Breakfast Club anymore. Oh, Sean, while I got you on, speaking of Breakfast Club, did you see the thing about DJ Envy and the trouble he's been in?
I heard about it from Professor Black Truth, and he just was too greedy. He got into this real estate scam, and it shows what happens when you're greedy and you don't think critically about your business. And he wasn't really thinking too critically about his business, and that's why he's in some bad business right now.
Yeah, yes, indeed. You have to always be careful about anyone you deal with, people that you want to do business with, and get their backgrounds checked. Because right off the bat, when it was offered to Joe Button even said, "Man, that sounds like a Ponzi scheme," and he warned DJ Envy about it. Now, I'm gonna probably have to do a breakdown. I know lead attorney and Dennis Sperlin have done their takes on it. I probably will do mine. But you always got to be careful with money, and especially with who you're dealing with. But this could cost him his it could cost him his job with the Breakfast Club. It could cost him his job, obviously his career, and most importantly, his freedom. And then I think his wife is involved in it as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Is tied in with it. Yeah, that could affect her. So you got to be careful. I want to talk about this though before we get out of here, Chad. Before we get out of here, Sean, the Riverboat Brawl, Montgomery Brawl. There's been obviously some type of resolution with at least two of the individuals. Apparently, according to Alabama.com, they said a Dallas County man, Richard Roberts, who's 48, pled guilty after 2 hours of testimony in Montgomery Municipal Court. The plea deal was worked out during a recess after testimony before Municipal Judge Samaria Dunson. Under the agreement, Roberts received a 4-month suspended sentence. Of that, he will serve 32 days in jail in Perry County, with that time to be served on the weekends. The sentence also calls for 100 hours of community service and court calls. After the plea agreement, Roberts apologized in court to the victims, Damian Pickett, co-captain of the Harriet II riverboat, and a 16-year-old boy who was also an employee on the riverboat. Cases against 2 other defendants in the incident were postponed on Friday. Alvin Todd and Zachary Chase Shipman are both charged with one count of third-degree assault. Mary Todd pled guilty to harassment on Friday. She received a 15-day suspended sentence and was ordered to complete an anger management program and paid costs. Reggie Ray, who's the man seen wielding a folding chair in a melee, was charged with disorderly conduct. Ray is black, the other defendants are white, and all of the defendants have pled not guilty. So nothing on Reggie Ray's charges in his case, but this sounds, of course, like a slap on the wrist that these individuals have gotten. If there were complaints of a racial slur being made, according to this, the teen's mother, Crystal Warren, who obtained the warrant on behalf of her son, had noted in her police report that a racial slur was used against Pickett during the brawl. Ray's lawyer, Lee Merritt, told Good Morning America in September that the attack on the riverboat workers was racial. But in court, Warren testified that she did not hear Roberts use a racial slur. Pickett was in the courtroom but did not testify. Pickett did not stop to speak to reporters as he left the municipal court building. So, just everybody for what's going on in the breakdown with this. These were all charged as misdemeanors, Sean. You understand that?
Yeah.
So there's no jury trial that needs to be heard. So probably what happened is that during the trial of Roberts trial in Montgomery Municipal Court, they heard testimony. It was for 2 hours, and because during recess he apparently worked out a deal with the prosecutors to the agreed amount of jail time and community service, because then what happens when you go to trial and you lose or you plead guilty, they may do what's called a trial tax and tax you just for wasting the court's time. That has happened. But I'm not sure if anyone is satisfied. Nobody has mentioned it. But typically something like this, if there was a racial slur made, it should have been charged as a hate crime, but they didn't do that. But you have anything you want to say?
Well, we all know that there was going to be a fix-in for this case, but the sad part is with the whole fix of this case is we had a black bootleg mayor, we had a black bootleg DA, a black bootleg judge, and instead of them looking to go out here and punish these racists for their just out of control behavior, they look to give them a slap on the wrist and a pass. And that's the old big problem with these individuals, is that even though we have the spirit of the ancestors mete out justice on that riverboat dock, we have these bootlicks who are looking to give these white people a pass because they want to get favor with white supremacy. And that's where we have to start taking the spirits of the ancestors and start taking our fight to get these bootlicks out of office, because if we want to get justice, we're just going to have to start taking more action and start picking our judges and our candidates ourselves, because in predominantly black areas, we've got to start taking more initiative to go out here and take control of our political process so that these white racists like this don't get a slap on the wrist or get a pass. No, they need to be held accountable. And the only way they're going to be held accountable is if we start taking more of our power the way they did on that riverboat dock. Because yes, we stood up on the dock as related to dealing with these racists who were out of line, but we've got to start taking more of our power by going into putting our candidates into these offices so that we can ensure that these racists like this get punishment, and they understand that they cannot disrespect black people and they have to follow the law of the land as we create a standard of justice for all.
Yeah, and according to this, they had testimony from the kid who dove in the water as well as his mother to help out as the co-captain, who didn't testify, and probably had he testified, maybe and the guy was found guilty, Roberts, penalties would have been more severe, probably a little more jail time. But yeah, I'm not surprised at that they got like a slap on the wrist. But we got to see what happens to the guy who was wielding the chair. And the lawyer is trying to say, well, it wasn't about race. This was a barroom brawl. Bullshit. He said it had nothing to do with race. BS. Because if it was a white man coming up there trying to stop it, the chief pilot, he initially said it was racial. He changed after he got on CNN, because he knew he was going to be in trouble for taking that stand. And he did it, and he went on the conservative broadcast trying to change everything, and what he said, it had nothing to do with that. BS.
It was 100% racial.
Right.
Because had it been a white man who told them to move their boat from the dock, they would have done it.
That's the point of all of this. Yes, they wouldn't have done that. They would have done it if that white captain had gone up there. Yeah, Mary Todd pled guilty in the episode with Mr. Pickett. And this asshole said, "Oh, I didn't mean to punch the kid. I was trying to stop the punch." BS. You were drunk and disorderly. You meant what you did. But I have to say, as an attorney, just briefly, guys, because some of you are wondering why they got off with life sentences, while it may be, and I don't doubt a case of white privilege, if they're depending on their criminal background and the nature of the charges, and sometimes and of course the prosecutor, and also if the prosecutor spoke to the victims in it, or the alleged complaining witnesses, as we call it, they may have been lenient or agreed with that sentence. That could have also been a factor. And sometimes, if you have a first-time offender, then they may just give them a slap on the wrist, depending on the nature of the charge. So it does happen. But we shall see. I want to see what happens with Mr. Ray. All right, Sean. You want to do a final plug-in? You can.
All right, you can pick up the SJS Direct 2023 books, John Haynes 1987 and John Haynes Godbreaker, in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com. And you can also pick up my first full comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, on Lulu.com in paperback. You can pick up all the books of the SJS Direct imprint in paperback and Kindle format at Amazon.com and other online booksellers.
All right. Do that, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, if you like what you've heard, drop something in the Cash App. Maybe for my time, if you think I'm worth for my time. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting edition of Random Topic Thursdays here on channel GB2786 on YouTube, Gavin Richard. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. We will see you all in the next one. Be one, be blessed, and be safe. And eyes be out. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend. Get busy.